Hey, what is up, YouTube? So we have Candace Owens back doing her shows. Let's get straight to the video, though, okay?
I'm genuinely so excited. I can't even tell you guys how excited I am to finally be back with all of my friends, just speaking about things that are on my mind. Genuinely, we have so much to catch up on. So much has taken place. What did I miss?
The Daily Wire has parted ways or fired Candace Owens.
The Daily Wire severs ties with Candace Owens.
Candace Owens is fired.
Was she fired, or did she leave of her own volition?
Jeremy, the God King of the Daily Wire, announced that the Daily Wire and Candace Owens have parted ways.
Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship.
Got to ask you about the recent departure of Candace Owens.
Justifying why he fired Candace.
Like, look what's going on with Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro. I want to know what she was fired for.
Dang. All right, well, apparently I missed a lot. Welcome back, guys, and this time, it's just Candace. So obviously we have to address the elephant in the room. It would be so inauthentic. It would be so not Candace if we did not address the elephant in the room. And there's really just no way that we can pick up where we just left off. You know what I mean? We can't avoid it. The answer is yes. President Joe Biden did, in fact, poop his pants in France the other day. Everyone knows he pooped his pants. You know he pooped his pants.
Everybody
I know he pooped
knows.
his pants.
I
But
think he
especially
did.
us moms to toddlers, we know what went down. It was an unmistakable, undeniable swat. And I think the most telling part was Joe Biden's face. Jill Biden looked over at her toddler, and she just looked like a disappointed mommy. She gave the, "You have got to be kidding me here, now? Didn't I tell you to go to the bathroom before we got into the car?" But that, of course, is not the only elephant in the room. I kid, there is a much bigger one, and we will address that too. You know, for me, my podcast, I describe it as just talking to my friends on the phone. That's what it feels like. I don't even feel that the entire world is listening. I kind of am just like, hey,
Yeah,
oh my
that's
gosh,
how I
you
do
see
my
this? This is
videos, too.
crazy. I just read this crazy book. Oh my gosh, what does this mean?
That's how I do my videos, too. And that's why I'm like, always, I'm a scatterbrain, because I don't have a script. When I'm watching a video, whatever's in my mind, that's what I say on the camera. That's how I do it. I feel like a script is on it. It's not authentic. It's not authentic. I just think it's try hard. YouTube is not supposed to be try hard. This is your passion, your hobby. A lot of people would make a business out of this, which is great, but you should always make YouTube a passion, a hobby, and it shouldn't be so serious. It's always business oriented. That's why I don't watch Kaisen. He's not my demographic. It's for kids, because it's just too scripted. You could tell everything's scripted. You could just tell.
About our government, it's corrupt. It's like talking to my family on the phone. And then we kind of sort of find out that the entire world is listening when all of these hit pieces are being written about me. And I'm like, oh, I'm basically being spied on. Why is somebody listening to our private conversations? So yeah, when I found out really kind of sort of definitely with the rest of the world that my show had been rather unceremoniously canceled, it was upsetting. It sort of felt like you're talking on those old school cord phones late into the night and like your parents are sleeping and then you think they're sleeping. And then suddenly your mom picks up and she's like, yeah, this conversation is ending right now and you're grounded for 2 weeks. It's over. Deeply, deeply upsetting. And I think also something that was strange is that when most people leave their jobs, they just sort of leave their jobs. It doesn't really become this global news story where everybody feels like they have to comment. Yeah, a worldwide Twitter trend for an entire week. Crazy. And I want to say this, I genuinely, my entire life, I believe that you should always aim to split amicably, whether that's in a relationship, whether you're in the midst of a divorce, which I hope never happens, or whether it's just leaving a job. I mean, why else would we put years in anywhere if you did not want that relationship to end amicably? That should always be the aim. I want you to know that. Wherever you're going, don't put in years somewhere and then have it be a messy split. And quite frankly, I also think it's the right thing professionally not to speak about why you are splitting or what's happened. But I was shocked. Very shocked, and I'm sure you were shocked as well, when no sooner was the split announced than Andrew Klavan just was like, hey, it's me, I pick myself, I'm gonna be her crazy ex-boyfriend. It was like a bizarre tour he went on. He felt like it was his duty, or maybe somebody knighted him and said, you know, Andrew Klavan, this is your duty to go around and to just smear Candace Owens, say whatever it is that you want about her. And there's a piece of this that everybody's missing, and I do want to talk about that. I think Lauren Chen really summed it up, or at least pointed to it on Twitter. She sort of said, you know, what's really missing in all these conversations with Andrew Klavan is, are you guys recognizing that he's basically saying she was really nice to him? That there was nothing that she did from a personality perspective. Yeah, that is kind of the big part that I think a lot of people are missing. Lauren Chen is correct. I was nothing but kind and nice and warm to Andrew Klavan for years. I had what I would describe as a very good working relationship with him, as I do with everybody. It's important to me to always represent myself professionally, also to always be nice and check in on people's lives. And just a few weeks before this, Andrew Klavan was sitting across from me on backstage asking about my kids, asking about how I was doing, talking to him about the fact that I had had a surgery. I had been walking around in a boot just a little prior to that because I had a surgery back in December. And I think that that is just, I don't know, I don't even want to say it's strange, more than strange. I think it's dishonorable. You know, a lot of people go, oh, why do all of these young men follow Tristan and Andrew Tate? Why don't they follow people like, I don't know, Andrew Klavan? And I've really spent a lot of time trying to understand how it is. And I think this was just recently announced that someone like Andrew Tate has become the third most Googled person in the world. That was recently announced. The third most Googled man in the world is Andrew Tate, his brother. They are from the wrong side of the tracks. How do they gain a following of so many young men following them? I think that one thing I could bet my life on is that if me and Andrew Tate were enemies, he wouldn't be sitting across from me asking me how my kids are. He wouldn't. I also want to say that just in terms of how I've always behaved with my colleagues, if I ever had a disagreement with something that they said, I would never do anything other than to go to them directly. I would not be holding on to anything. In fact, this is a true story. One time Matt Walsh tweeted something and I thought that he just didn't have all of the facts. I'm not going to tell you what the situation was. It wasn't that important. But I just called him. And I was like, hey, saw your tweet. I think that you should talk to this person because I think there's something that you're missing. And Matt was like, oh, well, I'm not going to change my mind on this. I was like, I'm not asking you to change your mind. I just want to introduce another fact. And I got him on the phone with somebody else and they had a conversation. I don't even know what happened with that conversation, but that's just the way that I would expect colleagues to behave. But you would just raise something directly with the person that you are seeing on a day-to-day basis. But Andrew Klavan didn't do any of that. And what he said about me, and the reason why I'm responding forcefully, is because it rose to a level not just of tremendous dishonor to him as an individual, but also to blatant defamation. Andrew, he just lied. I know, it was just such a weird thing for me to watch. He was lying with such gumption. And I'm going to show you guys how you really can sort of sniff out these sorts of lies in politics in general. And we're going to start by just cutting to Andrew. He, on his second appearance talking about me, because, you know, he really wanted me gone, but also can't stop talking about me, appeared on a show called Cross Politic. And he was explaining my alleged anti-Semitism. Take a listen.
The Daily Wire parted ways with Candace Owens, and part of it was things that she was saying that we felt were strongly anti-Semitic. And she was doing it in such a way that it was kind of hard to pin down, so I was trying to show where these things happen.
Strongly anti-Semitic, but in a way that was difficult to catch. So what we're veering into here now, obviously, is just like Black Lives Matter, giving you a definition of racism. It's in a way that only people with expert eyes can see it. Otherwise, he would just drop a clip and be like, wow, look at this crazy thing Candace said, how anti-Semitic. This guy's really a racist. He's just like dropping N-bombs. Like, obviously, this person is extremely racist. But when you get to this sort of like, it was done in a way, you just know that it doesn't exist. That they're just going to have to make it up. They got to Jussie Smollett it. You know what I mean? You just got to make it up. And guess what? Andrew does just that. He jumps into a Hitler hoax. By the way, let me explain to you what I mean when I say a Hitler hoax. We live in 2024, okay? If somebody ever comes to you and says, like, I don't know, I'm a Black person, and somebody tied a noose and left it around my neck, that's probably a hoax. It's just people are not tying nooses in 2024, and it just reeks of a hoax. For a Jewish person, Andrew is racially Jewish, if they're trying to sell to you that someone just like jumped up on stage and started being like, yes, I love Hitler, or like, you know, this person was just glorifying Hitler, you're probably being lied to. 99.9% of the time, it's a lie. And they do it because they have built up Adolf Hitler in our school books. They know that we instantly just recoil when we hear, oh my God, this person is supporting Hitler. So Andrew just jumps right into a Hitler hoax. And here is what he says, or at least what he says that I said. Take a listen.
But when you start saying things like some of those books Hitler burned weren't so bad, you know, I was shocked. This is something Candace actually said. I was surprised to learn that the books Hitler was burning, or the Nazis were burning, they weren't good books. They were bad books. They were socialist books.
Andrew, my friend, Andrew, my former colleague, I just don't know how you can do that. Am I broken? Like, I don't have the ability to lie like that. How could you believe that I got on my platform and I was just like, yeah, no, Adolf Hitler, like when he was burning books, it was great. I just thought it would be totally fine for me to do that. Of course, that's not what happened at all. Actually, I wasn't even talking about Adolf Hitler. It was an episode that I was doing on psychology, and I was talking about how a lot of the people that have brought forth modern ideas of psychology were perverts. And I listed 3 Christians among those psychologists. And the psychologist he is referring to is Magnus Hirschfeld. He happens to be Jewish, but that wasn't important to me. I was just talking about psychology. It was no more important than the Christians I had mentioned on that episode. Didn't need to mention that they were Christian, just the fact that they were perverts. And so what he's doing here is he's actually defending a pervert, Magnus Hirschfeld, by pretending that he is Adolf Hitler and that I said, oh my gosh, it's so great that his books were burned. No, I just introduced a fact, an actual fact that lives on the Holocaust Museum website. It's a fact that Magnus Hirschfeld's Sex Institute was burned to the ground by student protesters. Literal fact from the Holocaust Museum website. And here's what I actually said thereafter. in my view, he's a pervert. Doesn't mean that his library or his institute should have been burned down. There's no excuse for burning down an institute. There it is, you guys. Does that sound like someone who's supporting the burning of books in any capacity? No. And that's why he never showed the clip, of course. Am I supposed to believe that he didn't have access to the clips and the statements that I made at the Daily Wire? That he's not subjected to the same fact-checking process that I was subjected to every day that I was at the Daily Wire? That he just couldn't find out what it was that I actually said? Of course he could. He just wanted to lie and he wanted to smear me. And I think that that is awful. I think that's really awful. So what is it that I did that actually upset Andrew Klavan? That was kind of what I do. I've had such a great relationship with this guy. What did I do to deserve this? I would never do this to him or any person. What did I do that amounted to him planning an attack on me and smearing my name, absent any clips, absent any context? And he kind of gives it away in the title of his episode, because Christ really is king. And this, honestly, is just where things got a little bit disturbing for me. Andrew, for 5 entire months, had been seething. I mean, unbeknownst to me, never mentioned it to me, never when I saw him, over a tweet that I had sent last November where I shared a Bible verse. And I ended the Bible verse, here it is, take a look at it, by saying Christ is king. It's just a Bible verse, okay? You will note that nobody is tagged in this verse. This was not a response to any thread. It was a standalone tweet. But remember, Andrew is lying his face off, right? So he says, okay, this is the tweet that upset me. Now I'm just going to pretend that this tweet was delivered in a different way. And here is how he lies again.
The truth that hid wickedness, that I thought was the most wicked truth to use, was the truth that Christ is king. You know, when you spit that phrase at Ben Shapiro, that she used Christ as king in an argument with Ben Shapiro, where it obviously carried this weight. And so that's why I was addressing it.
So there you have it. No, of course, I did not spit that phrase at a Jew. I just tweeted it all by itself. I did not use that phrase in an argument with a Jew. I just used that phrase at the end of a Bible verse because that's an appropriate time to use that phrase when I was calling for peace after actually somebody insulted me and called me faux sophisticated. And it was meant as nothing more than, I'm calling for peace. That's it. Christ is king of my heart. I don't need this drama because, if you remember, I was 38 weeks pregnant. And so obviously the world responded because I guess Andrew thought it was such a brilliant idea to launch this attack on Christian doctrine during Easter week. And people didn't like it. They didn't like it. And I just want to say I am so grateful to all of you who defended me and said how wrong this was, what was happening, how you just don't treat a colleague like this, and called out the sinister nature of what it was that he was doing. And he kept it up, trying to justify it, doing interview after people essentially revolted and said, how can you do this thing? By then veering into what I would call Hitler dog logic. They're like, what are you talking about? She said Christ is, what is wrong with her saying Christ is king? And he has an explanation. It's Hitler dog logic. Take a listen.
And there is a substantial coterie of people, anti-Semites, people who hate Jewish people, who are using Christ the King as what the left would call a dog whistle. And they use it to spit at people. There are pictures of Nick Fuentes, who is a raving anti-Semite, shouting Christ the King in this kind of aggressive, pugilistic way to mean essentially Jews are screwed. You know, that's basically what they're saying.
So there you have it, you guys. Candace didn't actually say anything, but this person, Nick Fuentes, also said Christ is king years before Candace. And apparently Andrew Klavan thinks that Nick Fuentes wrote the New Testament. And so anytime you are going to use Christ is king, Jesus is king, you be sure that you recognize his Hitler dog logic. Do you have a dog? Do you guys have a dog? Did you know that Hitler also had a dog? Have you disavowed Hitler today with your dog? Yeah, well, then that would make you a Hitler lover. That is straight up leftist logic. And I love how he attributes that to the left. He's like, well, the left would call this a dog whistle. Apparently the woke right would call that a dog whistle as well, a Hitler dog whistle. You're just basically attaching me to someone for absolutely no reason throughout multiple interviews, for no other reason than the fact that you personally have issues with that person because of the way that they have attacked you. It is ridiculous. But you know what? In the scheme of all of this, I can't even be that upset with Andrew because I think he attacked himself in the process. He showed his own character. As he was trying to attack mine, he revealed his own character. But you have to ask yourself, what gave Andrew the courage to lie so belligerently? Other than the fact that, by the way, the person in charge of fact-checking at the Daily Wire, the general counsel, is his son-in-law. So I think that probably helped it get through the fact checks. He's married to Andrew's son. But what else gave him the courage? Well...
Wait, what?
What was it that... So I think that probably helped it get through the fact checks. He's married to Andrew's son. But what else gave him the courage? Well...
Wait, what? He is married to Andrew's son?
Checks. He's married to Andrew's son.
Oh yeah, Andrew's son is gay. I forgot about that. and you let your son marry another man, and you say that Christ is king, and you believe in Jesus Christ, my guy, Andrew. You believe in Jesus Christ, but you let your son marry a man. Well, you know that's an abomination. I mean, he's a grown up, but it looks like you haven't distanced yourself from your son. But what you're doing is like congratulating him, supporting him through his madness. Marrying a man is an abomination. It's an abomination, guys. It doesn't make sense. There's nothing healthy that could come out from two men dating or being in a marriage. It makes no sense. No kids could come out of that. Nothing that could benefit society. Nothing.
But what else gave him the courage? Well, what was it that Kanye was saying about the contracts? He must have known that I couldn't reply. He must have felt comfortable knowing that I could not say anything to defend my own name and my own honor, but he tripped into something different when he started lying on me in a way that rose to the level of defamation. And so I can defend myself against you, Andrew. I can defend myself against you. And genuinely do not wish bad on you still, because I don't want that on my heart. I don't want vengeance and hate on my heart. I wish you all the goodness in the world. In fact, what I wish upon you is a sacrament of confession for doing something with such thoughts to plot for that long, for months. With this is just it just defies belief with me. I could never do that. I would just go speak to my colleague. And here's what I will say. Always in my life, when things like this happen, there's always a reason. And it is because it inspires me. It inspires me to be great. It inspires me to be greater than I had been. And it inspires me to win against people that are doing bad. And so we decided to have some fun. So many of you guys sent me emails. We were just completely inundated with emails, people asking, how can we support you? And it's one thing to be like, hey, we want a donation. It's another thing for us to be able to create a product which will help support this show in all of the ways that it is growing, you guys. I am introducing Candace cups, not to be confused with a steal their clientele, meaning the babies that they are spending a lot of time with Kanye. Just sort of lock this up in a time capsule, because one day I will have my own platform. And I do want to hear what it is that you're thinking right now and why you're doing this. You know, your whole life from the outside looks like it's being burned down. What is motivating this? And so we went to my house and we recorded a podcast for a couple of hours on a ghetto little camera. And it's crazy to listen to that. They wanted me to do it. It felt sadistic. It felt like, oh, well, we know you're his friend. So we want him to know that he's truly alone. And I never bit. I just thought to myself, at the end of the day, all I'm ever trying to do is lay my head in the pillow. If I want something to somebody that is in my life, I say those things privately. As I've said on the show over and over again, whether that is a colleague, a friend, a family member, you deal with these situations privately is the right thing to do if you have any sense of honor. Well, here's what happened. He, at that moment, right when that tweet happened, wanted to come on my show to talk about it, to talk about what was going on in his life that made him say that. And that request was turned down, obviously, because that was not my own network. Totally fair. You can decide what guests you want to have on your network if they're representing ideas that you believe in. And sometimes networks just want to avoid a controversy altogether. So I have no issue with that. But he was deeply upset by it. And Ye kind of turned to me and said, your voice is being controlled. You don't even get to have me on, and we're friends. And the only thing I could say to him at that time was, I have this ghetto camera. Why don't we go to my house and just record a podcast? Like right now, with all of this fire going on, I think that might have been the day that he had found out about Adidas, or maybe it was another company. And I just said, let's just sort of lock this up in a time capsule, because one day I will have my own platform. And I do want to hear what it is that you're thinking right now and why you're doing this. You know, your whole life from the outside looks like it's being burned down. What is motivating this? And so we went to my house and we recorded a podcast for a couple of hours on a ghetto little camera. And it's crazy to listen to that conversation now, now that he's not the hot topic and cooler heads have prevailed. It's something that I'm really, really excited to bring forth to you guys on this newer show. Obviously, we don't have time to do that today, but I do want to show you a clip of that conversation. But before we do that, you know, Kanye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West, did give us Gold Digger, a great song. So let me at first tell you about Goldco. What a wonderful transition that was, right? I am just nailing it. Like, the Candace show is lit. After everything that you have been through this year, ladies and gentlemen, after all the
Trump and Biden had a lot of places where they aligned when I looked at their policies. So I'm really interested in really bringing happiness back to the world, bringing joy back to the world. But we have to call people on what they're doing for there to be happiness in the world. We can't just say, oh, it's okay for people to like super complicate deals and to collude on deals and to not look at us as human beings, as artists and athletes and actors, that we have to be willing to like stand up for that, to be able to change something. And we need to come together as a society to be the first civilization that actually became civil, you know, to stop war. Like people, it's a possibility of having a warless world where the human species is not at war with each other, but we are more sophisticated because of social media, because of the information that we have now. And we got to have people like us and God using us to push that to the next side. And we got to get control of our country. We have to get control of our family. And right now there has been an agenda in the media and in politics to remove God, remove the family, and remove our country from us. So it's time for us to take control again. And God's on our side.
Hey Kanye, porn and God don't go in the same sentence. So I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you were Christian before and now you're not for some reason. So I don't know.
All right, so that's what's going to happen. I've got faith in that. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
I would also say, you guys, that's it. And there is a lot more. And this is just the beginning. This is just the first.
All right, man. That's it for the video on Candace Owens. Y'all can subscribe to her channel. Her main channel was like at 3 million, something like that. It's owned by Daily Wire, so I don't know if they're gonna give her back that channel. They're probably not. They're probably not gonna make. They're probably not gonna be making enough money on the Daily Wire, on her YouTube channel to really care about it like that anymore. So, because she's probably gonna grow another 3 million on this channel, so she's like a 1.7 or something like that over here. So y'all go subscribe, man. Thank y'all for watching. If you like the video, hit the subscribe button. If you enjoy it, hit the like button. See you guys on the next one. Peace.